freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 225 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, your nationwide hometown gun shop. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is BlackOPS. Our guest today is Aaargo Jay. Aaargo is a Second Amendment civil rights activist, a public school educator, and father of three. His passion for the Second Amendment is what led him to notice the differential treatment between Black Americans and the rest of the American populace when it comes to firearms.
He wrote a documentary called BlackOPS, which stands for Black Opinion in Popular Society. Its main focus is to change the perception of Black Americans, specifically Black males, in regards to firearms. Aaargo Jay has partnered with American Defense Manufacturing to build an AR-15 rifle of his own called Bravo Oscar to support the funding of his documentary. Welcome to the show, Aaargo.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're talking about this AR rifle, and this is episode 225. So is that the right caliber or what?
I think it's off. You know better than that.
Close. You know what I mean? I mean, it's chambered in 223, so you know.
We're in the area, right?
Right.
So
and it's 223 wild, so that could you know leave you a couple of extra points to jump up to 225.
I'm doing tie-ins where I can. Okay, I'm just doing tie-ins where I can.
So Aaargo, I just want to ask you about the you know, what's going on? What's the difference between Black America and the American populace on buying firearms?
You mean the difference? Well, yeah. Well, being a Black firearms owner, things are a lot different. And you know, especially with the racial tensions that are going on now, I think it's becoming more and more evident that there are disparities. But even before all this, there were a lot of disparities. I mean, hell, I could walk into certain gun shops here in Wisconsin and people not want to service me or sell me firearms. I, in fact, walked into one and I was incorrectly told, and it was intentional, that in order to purchase a firearm at that location, that I would have had to be in possession of my CCW. That is not state mandate. It's not federal mandate. It is just a piece of, I don't even want to use the word I was going to say. It's just a person that was trying to filter his clientele. And it was a way that he could do so without saying, oh, you know, I don't want to sell guns to Black people. But we see it evident. There was a video that was released yesterday. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, that a firearms owner, I forgot where it was, denied people service because he didn't want to sell guns to Black people. And he blatantly said it.
No way.
How does a person operate?
Is it the year 2020?
Yeah.
What?
You would think it wasn't. You would think it wasn't, but in fact, it is, you know. And this is nothing new, unfortunately. This is something that has been going on from the beginnings of the inception of this country, unfortunately. So
that's insane. I'm so sorry.
My history as a Black American is very different than other Americans. And it's sad that people do not want to acknowledge or admit or recognize it, but that doesn't change the fact that it is. Now, I'm not saying that to be a victim, because I don't believe or subscribe to victim mentality. Right. I keep pushing forward and try to help bridge those gaps. And that's the purpose of this documentary. The purpose of the documentary is to kind of highlight the fact that Black Americans are no different than anybody else. The color or shade or complexion of our skin has nothing to do with who we are as a people. There are people who are messed up that are all colors. Okay, I don't care who you are. And
Amen.
to pigeonhole and to say a thing is germane to a group of people just because of the color of their skin is just the most ridiculous, un-American thing that I can think of. But yet and still, people fly a flag of patriotism and still are not inclusive and not accepting of their reluctancy to be inclusive. So,
well, Aaargo, I know that you would never choose to be a victim, and so that you would say if a person that owned a gun shop denied you a sale and it was honestly because of the color of your skin, that you would just say, I'm not a victim. I'll go somewhere where somebody appreciate my money and my business, right?
absolutely.
And that's what, right. So we need to do that, because how could you be in business in America today and be racist? How could you possibly think that you could survive in today's ways?
Because I don't think that people who have those ideals or ideas really care. I think it's just that that's what they do, that's what they believe, and they're going to live their practices, and they're going to live their lives and even conduct their business, that mirror those practices or ideals or beliefs. So,
well, we've been in business for 15 years, and we've had some people that come in the store that we've had to deny sales to, whether because they don't pass a background check or they didn't have the proper ID. And we have been labeled as racist from time to time because people just want an excuse.
They'll use that word inappropriately, obviously not always inappropriately, as in the examples that you gave. But the people that we've had that used against us, they say we're racist against Hispanic people. And so it's like, I think it's just because we have a larger Hispanic demographic here in Arizona, but nothing could be farther from the truth. And so when it truly happens, I think it should be highlighted so that when these false accusations come out, you can see the falsehood for what it is.
Well, let me try to provide a little clarity too, because sometimes people don't understand. I worked in a gun shop for years, and you scrutinize every person that comes through that door despite color. And it's selling guns is a very difficult job to do because it calls for you to be judgmental at times. And even I myself have had to turn down other Black Americans who wanted to buy firearms and came in the shop, whether it's because they, came in smelling like marijuana, or because, they were prohibited. We found out later, that they were prohibited or something. But before I was working at the shop, there were no people of color working at the shop. And I think every gun shop that doesn't necessarily have people of color working there, that turns somebody down, is going to get that racist flag flown in front of their shop. But when I got there, I saw the reasoning for the severe scrutiny, and it's not racially motivated in every instance. It's not, because I myself, like I said, had to turn people down no matter what their color was. I turned down white kids, I turned down Black kids, I turned down Hispanics, and I turned down Asians and Latinos. So, and people who were Middle Eastern descent, everybody has been turned down. And it wasn't because of race, it was because of the law. It was because there was something that prohibited them, or something that alerted me that there was a problem. And race never once played an issue. Never.
Exactly. And that wasn't your experience, because you knew that you were being given wrong information. And so
absolutely.
And standing right around you are other people not being given wrong information. So it's, that's a little easier to identify. So you've been working on this documentary for a couple of years now. And, as you said, it's actually more and more relevant, I think, with every news cycle that keeps coming out, because as a nation gets more divided, it's just too easy for our lizard brains, our simple-minded brains, to want to try to, say, oh, well, all these kind of people are like this, and all of these kind of people are like this. And that is, nothing could be farther from the truth. So in your project, as you're trying to help people, see all the blend of how people are, they're not segmented the way that we we try to see on the news every night, the news in air quotes. What do you hope to do with the project? Tell us about the project.
Well, I guess I read a quote one time that says in a major motion picture, in a feature film, the director is God, and in a documentary, God is the director. Because it's difficult, because you're filming a reality, which is different than reality television.
Yes.
Or anything, reality based that we see in media now. A documentary is supposed to be based in fact. It is supposed to be, it is supposed to have anecdotal evidence. It is supposed to have things that can be cited and seen to help people relate to the topic that you're talking about. I have rewritten, or revised rather, this documentary 4 times now, because there's something major that happens almost every year that needs to be included. And I think that the delay in the documentary has been a good thing, because a lot of these things would not have been included had I found the funding or obtained the funding right away and gotten it made and gotten it produced. There are definitely things that need to be included that have happened with this whole new movement that's going on in America to right the racial injustices that are happening. So it's definitely been a labor of love for the last couple of years. But my hope for it is to shed some light on the differences that we share as Americans that actually should bind us instead of bringing us together. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not be the same. But at the end of the day, we are the same. And it's those similarities and those same differences that make us the same, because whether I'm black, blue, green, or yellow, or polka dot, like I want the same things that you want. Like, I want my kids to be safe. I want my kids to be healthy. I want to be able to safely maintain, protect, and keep the home that I've built. I want to be able to walk down the street and not be judged and not be harassed because of any specific or any reason that an individual might have. We all want the same things.
Mm-hmm.
I want to enjoy the life that God has given me. We only get one, and our time is short. And I don't want to continue to spend my time here on earth having to fight for things that, as an American, should already be given to me. Okay, not handouts, but these are things that are granted by God that have unfortunately been denied to a large portion of the American population.
I must have been living in shed, Aaargo. I thought that things were getting better. I remember when I was a kid, it seemed like there was more racist stuff going on back then because it was this against them, whatever. But as I got older, it seems to me that the younger generation is more open to everybody the same. What's going on?
And I do think that I see a lot more of the inclusive lifestyle with the younger generation, even younger than me. I'm 45, so that generation that's under me is a lot different than even we were. My generation was. But, people always say this, we're living in a country that's more divided than ever. That's BS, okay? Because let me show you division when we couldn't even walk down the same street. Let me show you division when I couldn't get a drink of water at a bubbler that, you use, as white Americans. Let me show you division when I can't cast my vote. My mom and my dad tell me stories about my mom living in the South. Saw a lot of injustice. Okay. And I'm talking about an American citizen who works hard every day. Her father would go to try to vote, and then he would stop wherever the vote was being held, and they'd hold up a large jar full of beans and say, okay, now tell me how many beans are in here. If you get that right, now you can vote. Or how many bubbles are in a bar of soap. You tell me that, and then you can vote. You know what I mean? And these are just some of the smaller things that have been restrictive to Black people in America. Now, like I said, this isn't me saying, hey, look at me, I'm a victim. This is me stating the facts. This is what actually happened. These are the things that are still happening, and people don't necessarily always agree with them because they don't experience it. So a lot of times when you say, hey, certain things are rooted in racism or racist, a lot of people who aren't Black don't understand where that's coming from. because they've never experienced it, and it's something that's new and foreign to them.
Right.
But we see it for what it is. You know, I'm very conservative politically, but I do not agree with a lot of the things that are happening as far as voting, because it is a form of voter suppression. I don't think that everybody is out to stop a black vote, but I mean, I look at things that are happening in places like Alabama, who's just saying that if you're going to cast an absentee ballot, now you have to get it notarized. That means you have to know what a notary is, number one. You have to know where a notary is, number two. You have to be able to get to a notary, number three. You have to be able to pay a notary, number four. That's not what America's about. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with it. I don't. You know, and I think for such a long time, so many of us have just sat silently on the sidelines and said, "Oh, you know, oh well, it's happening." But now it's becoming a problem. My right to vote, or your right to vote, or anybody that walks under this flag that flies, that's called Old Glory. Anybody who flies that flag has the same right, and nothing there shouldn't be any differential treatment or actions needed to cast a vote in our country. Shouldn't. We should be able to walk into a polling place and vote. And that's just, like I said, one of the things that I have issue with. But
yeah, no, I agree. And as you were saying that, I'm thinking of all the hurdles that have been put between law-abiding American citizens of, again, like you said, any color and polka dotted and everything else, and their ability to possess the tools, the life-saving tools of firearms. You know, there are places that you just absolutely can't have anything. And there are places where there are sheriffs who sit there in judgment and say, well, you know what, I kind of like this guy. I'm going to go ahead and give him a permit that allows him to go and get, you know, a permit to get a firearm. You know, you got to have a permit to get a permit.
Right. I have permission to practice my rights as a citizen in America. So thank you for that. Right.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And if we're against any infringements on any of our rights, we should be against all of our infringements on all of our rights.
Absolutely. You know, and I mean, I think that takes us to, you know, I'm a big history fan, a big history buff. I think that requires a lot of times people have problems with things because it requires them to take stock into what really is. And it always starts with self. You know what I mean? Because the first thing that people say, well, I'm not like that. Well, nobody said that you specifically were. You know what I mean? It's just what is. Or I shouldn't have to apologize for what other white people did. No, nobody said you should. Nobody's asking for I'm not asking for an apology. Like, I think that's stupid. But, you know, you have to look at the origin of a lot of things. The only reason that gun control laws exist in the first place were because of people that look like me. Gun laws were not put on the books until the slaves were freed. And then you had freedmen legally now able to purchase firearms. So that's when the first firearm laws really took effect. And they have evolved from then to now to you know, encompass a number of different topics and different things in relation to firearms. But the same laws that were rooted in that same racism still to this day disproportionately affect people who live in certain neighborhoods, people of a certain financial status, and people of color. So, and it's not victimization, it's fact supported by data. So, you know, and it's just a sad fact. It's just a sad reality.
Aaargo, we have, you know, with the COVID and everything else, gun sales have been off the roof. And with people,
matter of fact, I sent you guys a couple of people. So
and
thank you.
So I have good news for you. Okay, the people, when I walk into my store at any given time, it's crowded, and I can guarantee you that there's never a time that there's not almost every type of person in the store, and it makes me proud because you know, everything. We have people in our neighborhood that are struggling, and they really need help, and it'd be terrible to deny them the right to protect themselves. Terrible. But we do see that. So I can tell you in our shop, what you're talking about doesn't exist.
Well, you know, I know that because I know you two and I know your character. And and even if I didn't, the word on the street is AZ Firearms is absolutely fantastic. So that's not, and like I said, I'm in this group on Facebook. Most of the people are based here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and in Wisconsin, but there are a few people who have moved from Milwaukee. Arizona is a big relocation city for people from Wisconsin. So there are some people who have moved there, and they're like, oh, no, I go to AZ Firearms. Or, oh, no, tell me where to go. And I say AZ Firearms. So you should have had two people come in through this whole COVID thing. And hopefully they brought other people into you. But, personally, I really don't care what your nationality, what your culture, what your religion, what color you are. Like I said, as long as you fly that flag that's red, white, and blue and has those 50 stars on it, I don't care. However, I am not oblivious to the fact that there are differences and there is differential treatment in our country.
Sure.
And those are the things that need to change. And like I said, that's the purpose of the documentary. Like right now, everybody's like, yeah, we're on this whole BLM thing. And I'm like, not me. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I support the movement. I support the fight for removing racial injustices and things like that. And certain forms of systemic racism, but I don't believe that what's going on right now is the end-all be-all answer to that. I don't defund the police. I do not believe that. Right. I do not believe that removing statues and all that is going to do anything. Like, I understand why people want that to happen, but let's look at it in a reality-based situation. What is it going to change other than that statue not being there? It's going to make you feel good right here, right now. But what is it going to change? The change that I want to happen isn't for right here, right now. The change that I want to happen isn't really even going to affect me. But the change that I'm going to have happen, I'm going to show you, this is why I want change. For that dude.
Right.
For that
dude. My gosh.
You know what I mean? Thank you. That's why I want change. Like, I don't care. I mean, I care about me because, what happens to me, directly affects him and my two daughters. But that's not why I want change. I don't want change to be glorified right now and to have this facade of equity. No, that's because it's not going to happen that fast. It's not going to happen overnight.
Well, Aaargo, so we have people that are not racist, we have people that are racist, and there are people in the middle. Do you think that all the stuff that's going on with Black Lives Matter and all that is going to make things better when they use violence?
That question is more complex than I think that you can even understand. Like I said, I support the movement. Okay, I support stopping the things that are killing innocent Black Americans. Okay, I could throw a brick in any direction and land on an incident. Okay, however, I do not support the Black Lives Matter organization.
Right.
Okay?
I think our fear.
Well, I think it's been hijacked, and it's been used as a political tool. I believe, it's my belief, and I could very well be wrong, but it's been used as a political tool to help push a certain agenda and help push people one way politically. And it has done nothing but further the divide and further that gap. Like I said, I support the movement. I definitely believe Black Lives Matter, but I put up a post a while ago that I forgot the brother's name right now. But he said in this post something that was so ridiculously great. Words are powerful, and the omission or addition of words could change a whole era. And you take President Trump, and you take Trump, and when he said, "Make America Great Again," and these are not my words, by the way. I'm not taking credit for this for any of you that saw that video or know who said it. And he said, when Trump said that, it resonated negatively with a lot of Americans, especially people of color, because America hasn't been great for us. Okay, when my grandfather couldn't vote because he had to count the beans in the jar, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not great.
Yeah.
But if he would have just taken off the word again and said, "Let's make America great," that's something I can get behind. That's something I can deal with. And then on the flip side of it, when people say Black Lives Matter and everybody, people who aren't Black are like, "No, what do you mean?" and all lives matter, or white lives matter, or whatever, blue lives, talking about police, because there's this association between Black Lives Matter being anti-cop, and that's ridiculous, because if you get rid of the cops, whose neighborhoods and whose communities do you think are going to be affected the worst anyway? So anyway,
Sure.
but when they say Black Lives Matter, like it makes people, it infuriates people who are white, and if they would have just added a word, if they would have just said Black Lives Matter too, that changes the whole dynamic of things. You know what I mean? Because people then say, of course, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And it doesn't garner this whole fight and this whole Donnybrook of ideals that is happening. And it's just like, what's going on? Like, we're like this when we need to be here. And
Right.
you know what I mean? It's one hand fighting the other, and we'll never come together if we continue to have these separate ideals who in their foundation are very, very similar. So we need to find a way to communicate what we mean better, I feel, So.
I agree. I think that's
But I don't think violence is the answer. Now, this country has been rooted in violence, because that's your original question, Dan. But, this country, has been rooted in violence, and the founding of this country came from a violent, a violent uprising. I mean, that's just fact. However, I support the people who are out there protesting, because that's their right. I don't care what you're protesting about. I don't care if it's the KKK guys that want to come out and protest, as long as it's peaceful, because that's their right as American citizen. I don't have to agree what they're protesting about. I just have to agree that that's their right.
And peaceful protesting will not give negative results. Peaceful.
No, and in fact, the Constitution says we can protest as long as it is peaceable. Right. Okay.
Exactly.
So do what you want. Protest until you are blue in the face, but do it peacefully. And I think that going back to polka dot honey farms, get more.
But you're going to speak into existence.
I'm trying to tell that's a cash cow. But anyway, so you get more flies with honey than you do with poop. I mean, sour, but not poop, because flies love poop. But anyway, but you get more bees with honey than you get with anything else. So
you do, and I think our concern is that people that really have lived in the middle are going to be pushed out of fear of some of the stuff that they're seeing. They're going to be pushed farther to the wrong fringe, where they're like, well, I don't know, I maybe this is a black-white issue, which to me is so completely ridiculous, because I always say that I'm like a pound puppy. Like, I don't really know what my lineage is. I think I'm a, just a mix and a blend, and I think we all are at some level. So for people to get up on some kind of major platform and try to act like, well, I am better than that person because of, the hue of my skin, as you say, it's just it never has made sense to me. I'm so glad it doesn't make sense to me. But at times like this, it causes me to fear that people that really want to live in that brain space that I live in are going to be like, I don't know, I'm going to go over here because it feels safer. And,
you know what?
And less fear-inducing.
You know what, though? Why can't we talk about fun stuff?
Well, we're getting ready to.
Aaargo, I want to know more about this rifle. Can you just?
And that rifle is something else. No.
I mean, we had some serious talk, but it's time to have some fun.
All right, absolutely. Well, the rifle is called the Bravo Oscar, and that is the military phonetic spelling for BO, or BlackOPS, which is the name of my documentary. Not body odor, by the way.
I always think in my brain, Bo Knows. Remember back in the 80s, the baseball player, and there was that Bo Knows. So
yeah, Bo Jackson. He was one of my idols growing up.
Absolutely. You know what year that was?
80.
1960?
No.
1980. 1980.
80.
Right?
Bo Jackson was 1985, 86, 87. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember him on the baseball card with the bat?
Yeah, don't forget, he was also an awesome football player. He played for the Raiders.
He played He played baseball, basketball.
No, baseball and football.
Football?
Baseball.
But he was awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
And
so
then
back to
then he went into MMA. So anyway, but
MMA, what's that?
Mixed martial arts. Oh no, that's Herschel Walker. I'm sorry, that's Herschel Walker. I confused. You know, black guys all look alike. So anyway, so
I think that's you said a little racist thing there.
Right but
yeah, you know,
you're here all week.
Yeah, all week. But no, the rifle is awesome. And I partnered with an awesome company, American Defense Manufacturing. Well, let me give you the origins of the rifle. I build all my rifles, like a lot of Americans, because I never really can find exactly what I want when I want to buy a rifle. And I was always trying to make my rifles ambi because I like to run my rifles from either side. So I was always making guns ambi that weren't ambi. And then I started to look into purchasing guns that were true ambi, but the price point was so ridiculous for them. You know, I didn't want to pay $3,000 for an ambi gun. And then something just clicked in me, like, you have a company right here in your own home state, because I love to keep things in my own state and keep the money circulating in my own state that help keep food on my son's table. You know, but and I said, well, let me just reach out to American Defense Manufacturing. And I reached out to them, and they were all on board from the very first time I opened my mouth and started to pitch it. They're a great group of guys over there. And they were just all in. And they decided that they were going to help me complete this rifle to my specs. And then they said that they were going to donate the proceeds to the rifle to my documentary. So for every rifle or pistol purchase, because there is a rifle option and a pistol option we'll talk about in a minute, a portion of the proceeds are going to help fund the documentary, which has been the hardest part, is funding the documentary. So yeah, American Defense Manufacturing stepped up and stepped in like nobody else has since I've gotten this underway. Now, having said that, the rifle is just baller. I mean, I have two versions. I have a 14.5 inch pin and welded version, which is the rifle. It's a carbine with a mid-length gas system. It's got a Criterion barrel in it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Criterion barrels. Criterion is also another Wisconsin company, but they make some of the best barrels out there. They're very, very accurate. It's chambered in .223 Wild. The muzzle the muzzle device is from Griffin Armament, which is also in Wisconsin. So I'm telling you, I'm all about my own state. And it's suppressor ready. So out of the box, this gun is suppressor ready. It's a suppressor interface for the Griffin Armament M4SD series or gate lock series of suppressors. So you don't have to worry about getting a whole new suppressor interface. You just grab your tax stamp and you're good to go.
That's the hard part, grabbing that tax stamp.
Yeah, the weight is the hard part. Gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Still got some in jail that I'm trying to break out. But
do away with that.
Oh my gosh. It just makes so much sense. But anyway, got a CMC 3.5 pound flat trigger in all of them. Have a Radian Weapons ambi safety selector on them. And I have the Radian Weapons Raptor charging handle on it. And it's got mag pull furniture otherwise, but I mean, this thing is a beast. And there's an optional package that you can get Cerakoted from Weapon Works down in North Carolina, who does an awesome job at Cerakoting. I mean, he is phenomenal. One of the very first and one of the best in my opinion, but my loyalties to him are a little bit different though. But he's veteran owned. He's a Marine. So it's an American based, former veteran owned company who does just awesome work.
That is
so where does a person get this rifle?
Now, if you want to purchase the rifle, you can go to the American Defense Manufacturing website. In the search field, you can type in Bravo Oscar, and it'll pop up. I believe you can also type in my name, and the two versions will pop up: the pistol version and the rifle version. And if you want the Cerakote package, just let them know in the notes that you want to get the additional Cerakote package. There is no drop-down tab for that, but somebody will contact you and we'll get you the Cerakote package. Or if you are on social media, if you're on Instagram, you can click the link in my bio. If you don't know what my link is or don't know what my social media is, it is Aaargo Jay, and it's spelled AAARGO JAY. That's 3 A's, AAARGO JAY, Aaargo Jay. and you click the link in my bio, and it goes directly to the rifle version. But there has been a lot of request and demand for the pistol version, which I didn't talk about, which is the exact same as the rifle version, but it just has an SB Tactical pistol brace on it, and it's an 11.5-inch barrel versus the 14.5-inch barrel. So, awesome. But everything else is the exact same.
So all the listeners out there just know that when you order the gun, they can't ship it directly to your home, but you can go through a friendly FFL, and they'll take care of the transfer for you.
So if you're in Arizona, you know who you should really use? You should probably contact these people at AZ Firearms, and they could help you get a Bravo Oscar, I guarantee you. Yeah. As a matter of fact, they should probably stock a couple of Bravo Oscars. Maybe I should talk to the owners.
Perhaps, yeah. We got a contact for you. We know a guy.
I'll tell you what I'd even do one step further. If they order the gun direct from the factory and they have it shipped and it's that gun, then I wouldn't charge a transfer fee at all.
What?
No transfer fee if you guys do it through AZ Firearms.
What? So if you're in Arizona and you buy a Bravo Oscar, that's just a great benefit that just happened now, because the purpose of the Bravo Oscar is, one, to supply Americans with great guns, number one, but number two is to help further the cause of closing this divide between the separate sides of America, the left, the right, the black, the white. So it helps to support the documentary. So every person who purchases a Bravo Oscar is also going to get production credits in the documentary.
Oh, nice.
So cool.
Yeah, so you will be listed as a producer in the documentary credits if you purchase a Bravo Oscar or if you donate to the GoFundMe.
So what's the price point on this? Have we mentioned that yet?
The price point is the same as the regular gun. They just wanted to put it together, and that's where I really tip my hat to them, because they took my suggestions for aftermarket parts for like the trigger and the Griffin armament muzzle, the flash comp on there, and they didn't upcharge anything. So they kept it the same as their regular rifle price, which is it just went up. Of course, it went to $1,950, but they're working a deal that it's $1,850 without iron sights, and if you want sights, it's $1,950.
Okay. Very cool.
And you're buying it direct from the factory, so with that and a no transfer fee, how could you lose?
Right.
There's also no tax in Arizona on a transfer like that too. Yeah. Anyway,
just gets better and better.
It just gets better and better. And like I said, you get production credits, and you get to help support a cause that is going to help America become a greater place. None of the proceeds are going in my pocket. None. It's not to fund me or to finance me in my personal life. It is to finance and fund the documentary, which is set to help shift the image and the perception of some things that are wrong within, number one, the gun community, but as in the American community as a whole.
I love it. I love it. So a couple of years ago, I had the honor of hosting what we were calling a Unity Project panel. And it was Zoom style, like we're doing here on the video. And I had yourself, Kevin Dixie, Maj Toure, and Ken Scott. And I think you all have your own guns now. So we probably need to revisit that, because you, during that call, was the first time I'd heard you mention that you were getting ready to do a gun. And so I was like, oh, breaking news on Gun Freedom Radio. But you guys all offer strong examples of being freedom-driven Americans, and that you are pushing back against this, and some people won't understand this phrase, but a crab bucket mentality that way too many Americans have, that tends to have us pull each other down instead of boosting one another up towards success and freedom. And I was so excited to have that moment to sit down with you all. And basically I just offered a venue, and you guys sat there and just had this conversation, which included things like, okay, everybody all thinks that we're Colion Noir, right? Because there's only one black guy that owns guns in America.
There can only be one. A Highlander.
And we keep an eye on him too. We keep an eye on him.
Yeah, that one black guy that owns guns. It makes everybody concerned. It's the dumbest. But anyway, talk to us about that and what's your experience has been with different people, and how valuable that is to have a group of of friends that you can go back to and kind of get refreshed, that not everybody's trying to, pull you down or act like, well, no, we've already got somebody like you, so we don't need to hear.
You know, when I first hit the scene, there were really only two visible Black people in the gun industry, and that was Coleon, and he was fairly new then, and myself. And the first thing that people wanted to do was to pit us against each other.
Yes.
And that never happened. Noir stepped up when I was having some issues. My son's mother developed a condition, and he stepped up and in support and said, man, if you need anything, I got you. And I didn't even know the brother, and we developed a bond. And I don't consider these dudes friends. I consider these dudes my brothers. Mm-hmm. And there is no animosity. There's no competition between any of us because there's room at the table for everybody. Mm-hmm. Like this table I'm sitting at now, like there's 7 chairs here. Okay, 6 chairs here rather. Somebody else comes, we just put an extension in at the table. There's room at the table for everybody. Somebody else comes, we put another extension in, because there's no one way to be, as an American or as a Black American. I think one of the questions that was posed to me when I spoke at an AmCon one day was something about, can I describe why something is happening in, as far as the Black America? And I said, I can't speak for all of Black America. Everybody's Black experience is different. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I can't speak to summarize everybody's experiences, because I can only talk about my experiences. Mm-hmm. But with myself, with Maj, with Ken, with Kevin, with Noir, 5 dudes that all have their own guns that just happen to be Black. Okay. I don't think it's ever really been done like that before. Like these 5 dudes, are probably one of the strongest fists that the gun community has. And each of these fingers, each of these dudes has their own job, just like each finger on our hand. We have our own lane, we have our own niche, and we work and we intermingle together, we talk together. When I started to have ideas for the Bravo Oscar, I talked to each and every one of these guys who had guns out before I did. And it wasn't, hey, I'm coming in competition. No, I'm saying, hey, I'm building this, help me out. Nobody turned their back. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody had any ill will or ill words about, hey, well, why don't you not do this because I got this? No, this was like, I'm great. Let's get this gun out, because what we want to do is get good guns to the people. You don't have to be Black to buy my gun. Okay, mm-hmm. You don't have to be Black to buy Noir's Advocate or Ken Scott's Provectus Elite or KD's Truth or Maj's Solutionary Rifle. You don't have to do that. What you have to be, though, is American and a freedom-loving individual. And that's what our guns are for. That's who our guns are for. Our guns are built to create a bridge over the divide. Mm-hmm. Our relationship helps bridge that divide. Mm-hmm. Now, people don't always agree and see eye to eye with what we say. But I mean, like I said before, that's because it causes people to reflect on themselves. Mm-hmm. And the hardest thing that a human has to do is look in a mirror and say, I'm not right. That includes me. That includes me. When I shifted my lifestyle from certain things and started doing things differently, it was very hard for me to look in the mirror and say, I'm wrong, or I need help, or something's not right, or I did this wrong. I should have done that better. That's very, very hard. And some people just won't do it. Some people refuse to do it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that is present with us. And then we hold each other accountable also. So the relationship with these 5 guys that you just named, including myself, like I said, we're brothers. Like I'm the oldest in the group, so I'm the big brother. So those are my little brothers, though. So.
No, I absolutely love that. And knowing all of you, I guarantee you they are going to hold you and each other accountable. And I don't think they're going to mince words. I think they're going to give it to you straight, but that it's given with the right attitude and given in love. And, that is not the crab bucket. You can critique and you can criticize. And when it's done with the right attitude and done in love and done for the benefit of the other person, that's, the best you could ever hope for.
And I think that's what everybody thought. Everybody thought that we were going to be those crabs in a barrel. Mm-hmm. We were going to be, oh, nope, I'm reaching for the top, so let me pull you down. Somebody's pulling me down, or I see you getting towards the top. Let me try to climb over your back to get there. That's not what happened. if anything, we used our pincers to pull each other up, instead of pulling each other down. So, when Noir was up there, he did everything in his power to share his platform with each and every one of us. I did the same, so, it's like you said, it's all about love and growth and unity versus being selfish. So
I love it. Oh, I love all you guys too. All right. Well, we have got to wrap up and let you get back to all those hats that you wear, dad and educator and builder of awesome firearms. So as we go out, Aaargo Jay, tell folks more about how they can follow you, how they can help support the funding of your BlackOPS documentary, any way that they can get a hold of you.
Okay, absolutely. As I mentioned before, you can catch me on all social media platforms, even though I'm very neglectful of Twitter and Facebook. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying. But Instagram is just so much of the way that I go, because you're so connected with the people instantly. Like it says Instagram. So, it's almost an instantaneous connection that I make with the people. And I'm like, people look at us as celebrities, and most of us hate that because we're just regular Joes who want to be of the people, and that's what I want. So that's why I choose to use Instagram the most. So you can catch me on all the platforms though at Aaargo Jay, and that's AAARGO JAY, with the @ sign in front of it, of course. And there is a website coming soon. It's aargoj.com. It's under construction right now. You can also find information on the documentary on Instagram at black_ops_doc or BlackOps doc. If you want to donate to the documentary, you can do that at GoFundMe www.gofundme/BlackOps doc. And you can definitely do that. Now, anybody who donates through GoFundMe will also receive production credits in the documentary, unless you specify that you don't want your name mentioned, which some people have because they just like anonymity or privacy, and I get that. But thank you. Those people who decide to purchase Bravo Oscar rifles, you will also get production credits in the documentary. So it's just another part of the way that I'm trying to give back to the people who helped make this happen, because it needs to be a project of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's kind of what the basis is. And that's another reason it's kind of taken so long. But I think that time has presented itself for a reason. So
I absolutely love it. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the example that you set. Thank you for the words you've shared with us today. I know there's going to be people out there that feel like maybe they're arguing against some of the things you said in their mind, or they disagree. And I think that's awesome, because now they're thinking, right?
Absolutely.
And they can go out there and they can, do some more research for themselves, get to know you better, get to understand your work and your purpose better. And I think it's amazing. So thank you so much, Aaargo. And now
thank you.
I have to use your marketing wisdom and figure out, because I keep having bees in my backyard and they keep building hives. And so I keep hauling them away. And you were like, no, you wear polka dots. It's the polka dot honey farm.
Absolutely.
Make it happen. Right? I got to go work.
Honey farms, make it happen. I just need 2%. 2%.
Okay.
That's all I want. 2%.
Done.
Aaargo. Aaargo, thank you very much for what you do.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on and always supporting and being there. And let's use that connection that you guys have to get some Bravo Oscar rifles in your store. That store.
I'm telling you, no charge for transfers for that gun.
We're going to get that done. All right, Aaargo, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. You too.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
So fun.
It's amazing to hear him. I mean, it seems like I learned something from him every time we talk. I didn't know. How could a business operate with prejudice? How could you do that? And blatant too, just like.
Well, hopefully they will just be opting themselves out of business, because you cannot do that. And people are not stupid, and they will figure it out. And it's just so unfortunate. But I love that he brought that example forward. and then that you replied with, well, sometimes people are accused of racism and there's really not there, because there is both sides of that conversation. But anyway, he's wonderful. I love him. He is just I think he's like 9 feet tall. And he's just a sweet-hearted human being. And I love being around him. He puts off such a great energy, such a encourager. And anyway, I'm blessed. We're blessed to know him and call him our friend, and that he spent so much time with us today. But
let's thank all of our listeners.
Let's do that. Thank you, listeners.
And thanks for the awesome guests. Thank you, awesome guest.
Thank you, awesome guest, Aaargo Jay. Yeah, we really have to blast out of here, but we so value the time that you spend with us. Your time is your most finite commodity, and whether you are watching us on YouTube or Gunstreamer or on the OpsLens app, or or whether you are listening at the audio version at our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, where you click the on-demand tab, and then you can binge listen to your heart's content. We value that you are taking the time to listen and argue with us in your brain. I love that. And share ideas with you.
Cheryl loves to argue. That's true. No, hey, Cheryl, let's pray for our country.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's pray for our leaders.
All right. I will pray for all of our leaders.
All of them?
You?
All of them?
All of them, Dan.
Liar.
Even the ones I don't like.
Even the ones you don't like.
Especially the ones I don't like.
Well, okay then. I have no answer for that.
Be good to each other.
Thanks.
Have a great week.
Thank you for listening.